If you haven't started thinking about your PulseChain release strategy, this video is for you. I'm gonna help you take some things into consideration when trying to extract maximum value from whichever system you're looking at. So first things first, I want to talk about is PulseChain V3 is going to be out any minute now. We're going to see it soon, hopefully. I can't predict exactly when it's going to be out, but we're going to see it very, very soon. And right now it is a fork of the ETH 2.0, and ETH 2.0 is an audited, very good system that already works. So chances are is that we won't need to be on V3 for very long. And he's kind of explaining that here in his tweet. So what he's doing right now in real time is he's creating his own little ecosystem with his own little tokens and his own little price charts that are all legendary. They will all go down in history the same way Satoshi Nakamoto went down in history, the same way Vitalik, I guess you could say, is going down in history. Because these guys are creating systems that not only the price is going up, but it's revolutionary technology, right? Like borderless payments is cool, but realistically, we're here because the price goes up. Now, I want to bring your attention to Richard Hart's not newest tweet, but one of his newest tweets. He says, Bitcoin resistance. What you'll see with Richard Hart is he'll drop you little nuggets, and if you can kind of extrapolate what he's saying, you can kind of get a better picture of what he's actually saying. So we know in the market, you kind of see Bitcoin have its original run, and then money flows into Ethereum. And then as Ethereum runs, then money flows into alts, and then as alts run, right? So you kind of see you see the money flow, right? Until everything's kind of dried up, there's nothing left to buy, and then people move back into fiat. What do you think Richard's trying to say when he points at a Bitcoin dominance chart and says Bitcoin resistance on the Bitcoin dominance chart? He's saying that altcoins are getting ready to fly soon. Now, I could be wrong. I don't really think so. PulseX is trending on Twitter, so hopefully the stuff gets done soon. But as we can see, the hex price is going insane. 3 monthly candles is usually always a good thing. Like, as you can see, if you have 3 monthly candles, you're usually followed by parabolic growth. Usually followed by parabolic growth. Let's check it out. Yeah, that's 1,000% in one candle. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm looking at with you guys right here, right now. In a monthly candle, that is 1,000%. So insane gains, right? Now, what I think is going to happen in terms of PulseChain is you're going to have Ethereum Hex leading the ecosystem, right? Profits will be taken into possibly maybe the Bitcoin version on the PulseChain. So PHEX, not PHEX, but PulseChain native Hex. And then from there, you could see people buying PulseChain and PulseX, and then you're going to see the money fly into the altcoins like Icosa and Hedron, and then you're going to see it fly into the other altcoins that I don't really talk about, but you're probably going to see the money flow all around. And what I want to say is Icosa and Hedron, don't underestimate, because they're the sleeping giants of the system. They're the cycle one coins. They actually have a good chance, right? Now, I'm just saying that now because PulseChain is not out yet. We don't know when it's going to be out. So there's things to focus on now that you can do now that are paying good yield now that isn't necessarily Hex or PulseChain native Hex or any PulseChain native stuff. So what Richard Hart is trying to do is create his own little ecosystem, right? The same way it works with the Bitcoin, then the big cap Ethereum altcoins, and then the smaller alts. It's going to be the same thing here. It's going to be the same thing in Richard Hart's little playground. So don't sleep on Icosa just because it's down right now. This is an opportunity, right? Because an 80% dip in crypto it's pretty dummy proof if you buy that. It's hard to lose money unless you're buying a scam on an 80% dip. And by the way, this is the Icosa priced in hexes. So how many hexes it would take to buy an Icosa? And right now it's 6.7 hex per Icosa. And on the PulseChain, you could think of it like this in terms of ratio trades. Now imagine the OA or a big player sets a massive liquidity hump that just can't be broken. Like no matter what, there isn't enough sell pressure to even break the liquidity bonding. Now, if you have 1 hex per 200 PulseX and PulseX increases $1, I'm or Pulse Chain increases $1. I'm pretty sure that it would increase Hex $200. Don't quote me on that, but I have to do some more math in terms of that. But it works where like he could set liquidity that can't be broken, that you could swap interchangeably between the tokens in terms of ratio trade. But if Pulse Chain or Hex appreciates, it could actually benefit all the tokens in the ecosystem through the ratios. And if you have a token that's a multiple ratio of Hex, like Icosa is, then you could see some insane buying power, right? Even if you measure it up, like it doesn't take very much. Like if we get back to 10, that's a 53% gain on your Hex. And from the ceiling price right now, which is 3 point, or not 3.9, but 39 Hex per Icosa, if we go back to 10, or if a 10 is around 70% dip. So don't sleep on Hedron or Icosa. As you can see here, when Hedron came out, it had a massive dump, massive pump. Let's say you bought a little bit of the euphoria here. Massive dump again, 81% plus, like reasonably if you bought at a weird place and if you decide to sell at a weird place. But then you could see huge gains against Hex, right? And Richard Hart wants to create a legacy, and I think so does Alex. Like Alex is like the new guy building building the altcoins on top of Hex. You know what I mean in terms of the Hex ecosystem. So these people want charts that look like the Ethereum chart. That's just like you want to have a chart that is long forever. You don't need to ever sell these tokens in the theoretical world, right? Because they would just always you'd obviously have volatility, but you'd always have a token that's worth more over time. And I think that's the legacy these guys want to create, as well as this ETH chart. It happened as it was proof of work. So if miners wanted to extract value and sell their yield or sell their mined crypto, then they could, right? And they did, to pay for electricity, because that's at least the very least you'd want to do is just pay off the electricity and look at the price chart. So you could imagine a proof of stake that has less users adoption. So Metcalfe's law applies way more, because ETH to double the users takes a lot more users than to double the users on PulseChain, theoretically. As well as this stuff is being gatekept now, but how much longer can it be gatekept for, right? Like eventually the word's going to come out that these new things are great and to use them, because Ethereum is used by, I think, 400,000 daily active users. Now, I wonder how many of those are hexagons, right? And I wonder how many of those people are going to hop onto the Pulse chain. And as people are seeing ridiculous fees on the Pulse chain, that's pretty much the value proposition of any other smart contract chain, right? And you've seen almost all of them pump. L1s usually have good track records for pumping. Whether they're good or not doesn't really matter. And we know Richard Hart is going to build great things, right? As well as Alex and hopefully other people that decide to build on top of it, right? So we'll see when this stuff comes out, but I think maybe Richard could be timing the market. Not exactly timing the market, but let's take the Hex launch, for example. Let's find this chart. So Hex launched around December 1st, 2019. Let's look at the Ethereum chart and let's look when December 1st, 2019 was. It was around here. So as you can see, it was at around a local bottom, and it was pretty much up until then. You had some dips that were great buying opportunities, but pretty much no new lows were made, right? I think something similar is going to happen with PulseChain. Maybe we've already seen this, right? And V3 is going to come out here, and then eventually MAINET comes out around here. Who knows? Like in terms of like the new price chart that might get printed, like who knows? Maybe we go up to $2,000, $3,000 ETH, come back down, test $1,000. I'm not actually predicting here, but I'm just saying, for example, maybe we see Richard just like, when you look back in hindsight, you're going to be like, wow, that was a really good time to release PulseChain in terms of like the market sentiment and the overall market trend, right? So we'll see. As well as Hex, over time, its track record is going to get better and better and better. as well as when PulseChain comes out, people are probably going to say mean things about it. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is 100% uptime, never has gone down, perfect price chart, right? Look at if we look at this price chart, look at the past 3 months. And we could see parabolic growth from here. There's nothing stopping us from doing that, right? As well as like you wanna stock up now, because you don't wanna pay once PulseChain's out, because Hex is gonna be going for a pretty penny, right? As well as let's look at, I think Richard R had something else to say. So he was talking about bank failure in waves. What this could also mean is, like, I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but when banks were failing in the United States, the crypto slash BTC was pumping. BTC was pumping as these banks were failing. So I think the whole value proposition and the white paper of Bitcoin and the whole, like, created in 2008 slash 2009 because of the financial crisis thingamadoodle is holding up now, as because we can see that people are taking their money presumably out of the bank and putting it into Bitcoin. So if bank failures come in waves, then maybe we'll see Bitcoin pump just because banks are failing and the US dollar is failing. As well as he wants the best for his community. He wants to save as many people. He wants to actually make millionaires, right? So we can't doubt now. I saw this FUD article. I'm probably going to make a video on this FUD article, but it was just explaining how you probably shouldn't believe in Hex. It was predicting Hex is going to go to zero by 2030. That was its legitimate prediction on the website. Hex will go to zero. That screams buy opportunity. And that article was made on March 20th, 2023. So that was very, very recent. Someone is saying Hex will go to zero after it's done almost 500%, 530% from its bottom, or close to its bottom, to where we are right now. And people are still saying it's going to go to zero. People are still saying it's a scam after a 10,000x. As well as, I want to say this again, you can't be sleeping on Icosa, because let's look at this. We're going to do a little bit of moon math. The reason why I'm saying don't sleep on Icosa is because of the ratio trading. If Icosa on the PulseChain can store multiples of Hex, then you're looking at insane price appreciation slash insane multiples. And the HSI, in terms of bidding on the auctions on the PulseChain, that value proposition gets even better, because first of all, if Hex gets expensive, you can get a deal on the Hex on the liquidation auction, as well as when you have the cheaper gas fees, when you have the faster block times and cheaper gas fees, then the value proposition gets higher then, because you're not paying $3 or $2 or $1 just to bid, but you're paying what, 2 cents, 1 cent just to bid. So that's a lot better for everyone, and that means more yield for us Icosa Hedron people, right? So you guys, if you watch my other videos, I also do consulting on Icosa and stuff. So if you want to learn more, there's ways that I see it now. You could generate pretty good wealth with this stuff. And I don't know, I saw some YouTubers there just calling it like the incentive token or the staking token, but we have to look at it realistically, right? If people speculate that Hedron is going to do good, I think Icosa will do even better in terms of holding multiples of Hex. So let's say in this perfect moon world example that Hedron reaches 50% of its ceiling price, and now all of a sudden it's worth to like take advances on your Hedron or on your Hex stake with Hedron. Then if Hedron's at 50% or even 70% or 80% of its ceiling price in terms of Hex and the T-shares, then Icosa could be at ceiling price or more than ceiling price, because there's nothing stopping people from even overvaluing Icosa over the ceiling price. The only thing the ceiling price does is it sets the ratio where you could start arbitraging the Icosa price, because you could trade in your Hex, get the Icosa, and sell it for more than what you paid for the Hex. So it's only stopping the only thing the ceiling ratio kind of hurts with is if it goes past ceiling, people could start arbing it. But the only thing that does is increase the Hex price, because if you want to start arbing it, you have to stake Hex for 15 years, or you have to buy Hex and then stake it for 15 years. So that's just price positive for Hex. And as well as, if you do that, Icosa users get more yield. So as you're arbitraging the price and selling it down, that just means more yield for Icosa users, or more T-shares and auctions to be bid on for yield. So this system's thought out very, very well. I do consultations. If you're interested, message me on Twitter. I leave it in the description, as well as if you found value in this video, please like and subscribe. And don't forget that there's ways you can extract value without even thinking about it, right? Richard Hart wants to create the best systems possible. Maybe that means for you, become a validator. Maybe that means for you, just buy, just DCA in no matter what, right? But you want to look for unit bias as well. Get as many tokens as you can, accumulate as many tokens as you can. But also remember that you're going to have alt seasons in terms of PulseChain and the ecosystem there, right? You're going to have Hex, the Bitcoin, leading the pump, and then you're going to have PulseChain following after, and then all the alts following after, like Icosa, Hedron. I see it, man. There's gonna be some good stuff, and don't forget about any token, right? Don't forget about any token. Pick up a little bit of everything, not the scams and stuff, but it's worth the risk, right? So that's all for me. Thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.